The dunes have and what it means for the Lakeshore.
That wasn't the only thing that made waves on campus. We have a look into this past weekend's polar plunge.
Extremely strong winds, what we saw yesterday, that's what ushered in this dreary look. I'll tell you what this has in store for our future temperatures and some possibilities for snow.
We have that and more on this edition of 15 News at 5 starts right now. Thank you for joining us on 15 News at 5. I'm Heather Bricka.
And I'm Blake Harms.
After 103 years of Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore is finally a national park. The 15,000-acre dunes, along with the Lakeshore, Michigan, became the newest national park when President Trump signed the act into law on February 15th. Although the name changed from National Lakeshore to National Park, it doesn't seem like much. It recognizes the dunes' ecological importance as well as its historical significance. This will also drive more tourism in the Northwest Indiana area, with people from all around the country coming to explore one of the most biodiverse areas in North America. In fact, the dunes alone have plant and animal species than Hawaii.
Did not know that. Did you have an idea that would enhance student experience here at Valparaiso University? Well, if you do, the University Guild is accepting grant proposals from all student organizations and campus departments. The grants vary from $500 to $5,000 to help fund approved projects and initiatives. Proposals are due on March 31st and can be submitted on the Guild website, guild.valpo.edu.
And how much do you know about your neighbor? Valparaiso Storytelling Initiative. The Welcome Project has garnered a lot of recognition recently. For more information on impact and success to the Welcome Project, we spoke to co-director Professor Elizabeth Werfel.
So in the Welcome Project, I'm co-director. I co-direct it along with Allison Schutte. And as co-directors, we do any number of things from day-to-day management of the project to working with our many great interns and volunteers. The Welcome Project is a story collection from initially starting in 2009. We were collecting stories on campus by students and asking them questions about belonging, like when do you feel like you belong to the campus, when do you feel like you don't belong. Since then, it's grown in many ways, including 2 initiatives. The first was a partnership with 5 nonprofit area organizations in homelessness and affordable housing. We partnered with the Porter County Museum and created a mobile exhibit that toured Porter County and had stories of people who had experienced homelessness in the region. And that still exists today at Housing Opportunities. The second initiative is larger and it extends our story collection to the region. One of the things we found is that the stories from campus and in the community were also regional stories. So many people from this area originally came to the Northwest Indiana to work in the steel mills in Gary. So grandparents of the people who live here now, or great-grandparents. And many of them then grew up in Gary and were part of the initial white flight from Gary in the 1960s, 70s, 80s. So we're looking at that story now and trying to understand in what ways is our region a good neighbor from one city to another or one neighbor to another. We were really excited this year to get National Endowment for the Humanities funding for our project. So we received it last year for Flight Paths, the Northwest Indiana Story Collection. We received it last year to start forming a team that crosses institutions from IUPUI to Notre Dame to Pacific Lutheran University and others. And so we're working with this incredible team to create an interactive documentary website that will bring together the individual stories we've collected and continue to collect alongside GIS mapping, historical context, national policies and practices. And we hope it will be a good resource for educators and the general public as we move forward in life and think about the ways in which these cities like Gary are really deindustrialized or deurbanized and the impact that has on the region and our nation.
This past Saturday, the Valparaiso University Chorale and other Valpo students sang Bach's St. Matthew Passion, a dramatic retelling of the death of Jesus Christ. We sent VUTV's Andrew Struckman out to learn more.
My favorite part about this experience has being able to
convey a story about probably one of like the most faith-filled and impactful stories of humanity, which is the Passion of Jesus Christ. And it's been really awesome to convey that in such a powerful way in music and in such a awesome setting that Bach wrote.
There were so many small moments within the concert that just whenever we get to them in a performance are really exciting. It was actually the only time that we had ever run the piece completely through without stopping.
I think perhaps the most exciting part would be in rehearsal, where there's moments between all of the chorale they're present. You can feel. I don't really know how to describe it, but you can feel the connection through the music to the people standing around you. Sometimes you'll notice it in the way they're swaying back and forth, right and left with their scores. Other times you'll notice it by the gleam in their eye or the grin on their face. But the music is connecting you to everyone else around you.
I hope that they can get a grander appreciation of the Passion itself, the Bach setting of the Passion, and how much work went into that, and the mastery that Bach has with chorales and his style of writing.
But I hope people who go to the concert were able to listen in a way that they didn't need to read along. That they could had maybe, if it only happened once for just a second, a moment of clarity, where the voices of the chorus and the voices of the soloists, they cut through.
So I really hope that the audience was able to experience like the visceral intensity, the graphicness of the music and the text, and sort of the play between the narrative of the story, which kept moving, like driving forward, and then also the arias and recitatives, which stopped to reflect on the impact of the events that were happening.
Members of the Valpo community made a splash this Saturday at the 20th annual Polar Plunge for the Special Olympics. The Special Olympics celebrates its 50th year as an organization this year. We sent Perry Larrett and Laura Morther out to test the waters.
The Special Olympics was founded 50 years ago in 1969. Its mission is to solve the global injustice and isolation that people with disabilities face. The Polar Plunge is a means to raise money in support of the Special Olympics.
All of the fraternity and sorority organizations either have a team or we're donating and contributing to it. I know the football team is volunteering today.
Other organizations like Greek Life and the Valparaiso University Police Department have played a part in making this event happen.
I've been involved with Special Olympics since high school, since my freshman year. And my senior year, when the state found out I was going to Valpo, they asked me to help take over the plunge when I got here. So it's like literally been my baby since I've got here. I like noticed that a lot of the special needs students were bullied a lot, and that really bothered me. So I tried to figure out like the best way to like help them get more involved with the school. So I like started a club and then started a unified sports team. And my involvement kind of just like spiraled from there, because they're like the same people as us, but they're never treated that way. So it was really important for me for them to see their worth and to know that they're just as capable as everyone else is, but society doesn't really tell them that.
Reporting from the ARC, VUTV News.
Well, last time we asked you about your Valentine's Day plans. 42% of you said you spent Valentine's Day with a date night, while 24% said they went candy shopping the day after, while tied for 17% was hanging out with friends and a movie night. This week, we want to know your plans for spring break. Will you be on vacation, staying home, catching up on sleep, or doing homework? Some of us may be doing all four. Now, I'm hoping we'll get a little more sun leading up to the break, but it's not looking too great. We have meteorologist Jessica Burns in the studio today. Jessica, are we going to warm up at all this week?
Yeah, I can tell you we are going to see warmer temperatures for just a few days, but as we saw with those extremely strong winds yesterday, our temperature has dropped. Now, earlier today, I saw our 24-hour temperature change was 15 degrees colder, but right now we are at 3 degrees colder than what we saw yesterday. And if you step outside right now, you'll notice that it is definitely colder at 25 degrees here in Valparaiso. And our current radar doesn't really have much to talk about other than a few snow showers up in Rockford, but that will be changing in the coming hours. I'm talking chances for some snow and colder temperatures, but I'll get to that in my full forecast coming up in minutes.
All right, thanks, Jessica. Coming up, we'll have more on President Trump's response to the Senate's plan to block the national emergency declaration.
Venezuela grows more violent and desperate. We have that update on the crisis after the break.
In a world where entertainment is at risk, one man is given a mission, but he is about to face his biggest challenge yet. He will race against the clock and open doors to new possibilities that will save weekends as we know it.
What are you doing?
I'm looking for free movies.
Oh, I'll help you with that.
Just go to movies.valpo.edu. They have all the best movies, including The Hobbit and 22 Jump Street.
Whoa, it's that easy?
It's that easy.
Grab some popcorn, grab some buddies, and watch movies.valpo.edu's great selection.
President Trump is promising to veto any resolution trying to block his national emergency declaration. Earlier Friday, Nancy Pelosi said the House of Representatives will vote next week to block Trump's emergency declaration to secure funding for the border wall in the Oval Office. Now, Trump was asked about the resolution.
On the wall?
Yes.
Will I veto it? 100%. 100%. And I don't think it survives a veto. We have too many smart people that want border security, so I can't imagine it could survive a veto, but I will veto it, yes.
The president and his top officials have argued that there is an immigration crisis on the southern border, but the Democrats say the move threatens democracy and the separation of powers. If the president vetoes a resolution, Congress would be forced to come up with a 2/3 majority in the Senate and the House to override it. The measure could also face a challenge in court.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration on Friday inched closer to defunding Planned Parenthood with a new Title X family planning rule prohibiting using its funding for abortion. The guidelines from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services had been much anticipated. The rule prohibits the use of Title X funds to perform, promote, refer for, or support abortion as a method of family planning. An HHS statement goes on to say the rule permits but no longer requires non-directive pregnancy counseling. The agency also requires there be financial and physical separation of clinics and activities funded by Title X. Annually, there's more than $250 million of funding for birth control and other reproductive health services for 4 million people through Title X. Since the rule's proposal in May, criticism has come from reproductive rights groups. The National Family Planning and Reproductive Health Association calls it, quote, a clear attack on the family planning safety net, end quote. Updates to the HHS rule replace those that have been in place since 2000.
A judge in Chicago set bond for $1 million for R. Kelly. The bond total represents $250,000 for each of the 4 cases against the musician. Kelly was in bond court Saturday, is charged with sexual abuse of 4 females from 1998 to 2010. The Cook County judge mandated Kelly must surrender his passport and have no contact with anyone under the age of 18. The singer would have to post $100,000 to make bail. Prosecutors on Saturday offered additional graphic details of the allegations against Kelly. 2 of the victims were 16 years old, another between 14 and 16. And the fourth was 24. An attorney for Kelly on Friday said his client is innocent. Kelly's next court appearance is happening right now.
The tension over humanitarian aid intensifies at Venezuela's western border with Colombia. Groups supporting self-declared interim President Guaido clashed with Venezuelan security forces on Saturday. CNN's Nick Payton-Wash reports from Calcutta.
It had been billed as a new dawn when the opposition planned waves of Venezuelan refugees would simply take aid back into their homeland across the busiest border bridge with Colombia. But it was closed, blocked physically by Venezuelan riot police, and behind them, violent pro-government gangs. The young police taunted or begged into changing sides. I'm Venezuelan, she says, holding up her ID, and my father was a sergeant. How will you stop me crossing? But they were Venezuelans too, and also knew its collapse, its hunger, and here, the heat and thirst. The water you're drinking, she says, it's Colombian because your president doesn't give you any. Bring him out here to us. I eat or drink soda whenever I want here, he says, but the hardest pain is how my grandfather died because he didn't have medicine. For a brief moment, the anger dissipated. The police lowered their shields, talked calmly. But down the road, the promised aid convoy arrived in a huge crowd, intent on pushing through.
Tension mounting here, the shields have gone back up again, and the protesters are recommending people start to move back.
This was why. A slow march of opposition protesters. Peaceful in as far as they would not take no for an answer. It fast collapsed into tear gas. The day's lofty goals soon lost in a routine exchange of hatred. Rocks against rubber bullets and rocks thrown back.
Did you expect to have blood on your shirt today?
This is the other guy with a shot.
Did you expect that to happen today?
It's the blood of the Venezuelan people. It's the blood of the freedom.
And as they lost up on the bridge, the protesters took their fight underneath. They are many, but Maduro's police are mightier. They have only whatever they could make. None of this chaos got any aid across here, but it showed the uncompromising ferocity of the Maduro government, and it led throughout the day to Venezuelan soldiers giving themselves up. One here carried out the mobs both cursing and cheering. The opposition had promised defectors amnesty. But this will only get uglier, seen in the mobbing of pro-Maduro militia here, battered by the crowd and spared only by Colombian police. And if the symbolic bid to get aid in peacefully failed, then these scenes are what Venezuela is left with. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Cúcuta, Colombia.
Coming up after the break, Jessica Burns will have your full forecast.
And we'll take a look at this past week's Crusader sports. Stick with us.
What is passion? At Valpo, it's something that pours out of us uncontrollably. It's a late night shot of caffeine, cramming for finals, a jam session with friends. It sees deep into space, turns big stuff into small potatoes, floats boats, and floods the senses. Passion is alive, it has a heartbeat, and it lives in you. How do we know? Because at Valpo, passion is who we are.
Well, I think that's all we need. Thank you so much for coming in. We'll be in touch.
Okay, this is it. Just shake his hand and walk out with your head held high. Don't mess this up.
Thank you.
Nailed it. Don't let a bad handshake get in the way of getting the job you want. Find out more at the Career Center.
Yesterday was definitely a blustery day. Here are some of the strongest recorded wind speeds here in the area. Valparaiso made it to the top 5 at 59 miles an hour. Things have definitely calmed down today. 9 miles an hour here in Valparaiso. Look at Champaign, calm. Now those extremely strong wind speeds have ushered in that cooler weather that we're feeling right now. 25 here in Valparaiso, 18 up in Chicago, 14 up in Rockford as well. Now, our current radar isn't showing very much, but that will be changing in the next 24 hours. We'll have our cloud cover start to increase along with a chance for some snow into the early morning hours Tuesday. Now, notice it will form up into a line, the snow will, and that will allow us to have that chance for some snow as the day goes on Tuesday. It's not going to be anything significant. Don't be worried, though, when you see a few flakes start to fly in the sky on Tuesday. As far as our temperatures go, expect them to drop down into the upper teens tonight. Tomorrow will be slightly warmer at 30 degrees here in Valparaiso. Temperatures, again, will take a slight dip during the night on Wednesday, during the night going into Wednesday for a high closer to 40 degrees that day. But as far as tonight goes, expect temperatures to drop down to about 17 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, again, cloudy, high of around 30 degrees. Now take these 30s while you can because they're not going to last for very much longer. We'll be in the 30s leading up to Friday, a chance for some snow every day up until Friday. Now Friday, though, that's our last day for the 30s. We'll take a giant plummet for the weekend at 26 degrees for Saturday. Sunday, take a look at that, 11 degrees. So we will definitely be starting our spring break feeling more like winter than spring, unfortunately.
That's very unfortunate. I wish it could be a little bit warmer.
Yeah, I think it would be warmer too.
Well, looking at the forecast, it looks like we may have a system in that Friday to Saturday.
Yes, there are a few systems that are looking to go through our area, but then again, we don't know exactly the correct track and what's all going to be entailed in those storms as
Hopefully people can get home safe.
Yes,
hopefully. Well, thank you, Jessica. After the break, Danielle LeGrand will have the recap of this past week's Crusader sports.
Valparaiso University, where passion meets purpose.
The men's basketball team were victors Wednesday night at the Arc, 55-52, over Southern Illinois. It was only fitting that former SIU, now Crusader, Dion Lavender would lead the team with 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. The men on the hardwood then traveled to Iowa for the weekend, but was defeated after nearly erasing a double-digit deficit, 64-53. Bakari Evelyn hit a trio of three-pointers and added 5 rebounds. The women's basketball team saw a 22-point career best from Addie Stoller in their loss Friday night versus Missouri Valley Conference leaders, Missouri State, 77-58. Stoller additionally added 8 rebounds and 3 assists. Addie Stoller upped her career best from 22 points Friday night to 24 Sunday afternoon as she accounted for over half of the team's scoring in a 58-47 loss versus Southern Illinois. The softball team split 2 games on their first day in action in Lynchburg, Virginia Wednesday afternoon as they picked up their first win of the season with a 12-1 run rule victory over Delaware State before falling to Bucknell 7-1. The softball team saw another doubleheader Sunday as they fell to Wright State 11-5, but shut out Princeton 7-0. Kelsey Packard pitched her 5th career shutout. The baseball team fell to Arkansas State twice in a doubleheader Sunday afternoon, 7-6 and 7-1. Respectively, Blake Billinger enjoyed his 2nd career multi-home run game in the opener. Let's not forget that Saturday we have the men's basketball team performing at 2 o'clock.
All right.
Yes, well, thank you, Danielle. After the break, Jessica will have the final look at the weather.
Spark a new idea. Spark a desire to learn. Spark a passion for exploring the field of STEM as we go beyond the final frontier and explore the latest in virtual reality and artificial intelligence. We will play with robots and maybe make a mess or two. For the show keeping you up to date on everything in the world of science, technology, and innovation, join us Friday evenings at 7 p.m. on VUTV Channel 15 or online at valpovutv.org/sparked.
So we will be in the 30s for the majority of the week. However, once we leave for spring break, that's over. We will be feeling more like winter than spring, unfortunately.
Well, I really don't want it to be that cold going into
I don't want it to be that cold either.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. From Blake, Jessica, and Danielle, and I, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you after spring break at 15 News at 5.